All right, coming out and I'm saying it, ASRock is making some really interesting mid-tier boards at the moment. This is the brand new ASRock B850 Steel Legend Wi-Fi, and it does one thing that ASRock has been doing really well for the past 2 generations. Everything you need and nothing you don't. That's right, I am coining that term. That's a me thing. Anyone who uses it, they have to credit me. All right, let's take a closer look at this board because it's going for around $209 US. Let's take a squiz.
This video is brought to you by VIPSCDkey.com. Have you ever installed Windows 11 only to see the watermark of death? You don't need to fork out a couple of $100s for a key. You can grab one from today's video sponsor, from VIPSCDkey.com for a tenth of the price. You can use our code GEAR to get 30% off for this month only. How good is that? That takes that already cheap Windows 11 key and makes it even cheaper. It's easy as placing your order. Bingo bango. You've got your new key on your orders page. You chuck that key into the activation screen and you're good to go. No more watermark of death. Use code GEAR to get 30% off for this month only. Link in the description. On with the video. Back to you, Nick.
All right, here it is, the ASRock B850 Steel Legend Wi-Fi. Let's get that motherboard out of the way so we can take a little bit of a closer look at everything that comes with this brand new AM5 AMD board from ASRock. First of all, we've got the quick installation guide and a bit of documentation. This is helpful because it shows you how to install the CPU, how to install the RAM, and to get yourself up and running if you've never built a computer before. We've then got this little ASRock badge. This is kind of a relic of the past. You put this on your case to let people know what motherboard you've got in your system. There's also some Velcro straps for cable management. You can also use this for outside of the case too. Let's say you've got like a bunch of USB cables, you can use that to clean it all up. There's also a set of SATA or SATA cables for your 2.5-inch SSDs, your 3.5-inch hard disks, or spinning RUS drives. Lastly, there's a thermal probe. You can put this anywhere inside of your system and you could use it to adjust fan speeds and all the fan curves based on the temperature inside of your case with this little sensor. And there's 2 antennas for the built-in Wi-Fi and the Bluetooth on this motherboard. But let's get the motherboard unsheathed so we can take a bit of a closer look at what is on this board, because this one, my friends, is an absolute doozy. First up, we've got the front panel audio header. There's a 4-pin 12-volt RGB header. Then there's a 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB header next to that. There's 2 PWM fan headers, so you can plug in your fans to your heart's content. There's also a connector for that thermal probe next to that. There's 2 USB 2.0 headers, and then there's the front panel headers for all the lights and all the switches to turn your system on and to let you know that your system is up and running. Along the right-hand edge of the board, there's 4 SATA or SATA ports. There's a right-angled USB Type A header, typically 10 gig USB Type A. There's a USB Type C header. There's also another USB Type A header that's not right-angled. There's a 24-pin power connector to send power to your B850 Steel Legend Wi-Fi. There's 2 3-pin 5-volt addressable RGB headers and a postcode debug LED array on the surface of the board. On the top right-hand edge of the board, there's 3 more PWM fan headers for liquid coolers, for air coolers, and just to power the fans. There's also 2 8-pin EPS power connectors to send juice to your brand new Ryzen 7000, 8000, or 9000 processor. As for PCIe slots, the top PCIe slot, the one that is on your left, is a PCIe Gen 5x16 slot, and the slot down the bottom is a PCIe Gen 4x4 slot with a by 16 sized slot. You'll also notice that the top PCIe slot has a quick release lever to allow you to pull out your graphics card much easier. As for the VRM layout on the B850 Steel Legend Wi-Fi, it's got a 14+2+1 phase VRM layout with 80 amp Dr. Moss smart power stages with an 8-layered PCB. You'll notice that the whole I/O cover on the board is a massive heatsink to help dissipate the heat for that VRM layout, and there's also another large heatsink on the top edge of the board for that as well. This motherboard is designed for AMD Ryzen processors. It uses the AM5 socket and has standard AM5/AM4 cooler mounting. And if you want to see what the inside of an AM5 socket looks like, here we go, ladies and gents. I'm popping it open. The reason why I typically do this is to show people who've never seen inside of this socket before. You'll be surprised. A lot of people who have never built a PC before just will never look, and this saves them having to know what is inside the socket because I'm doing it for you. I'm a nice guy. What can I say? If we flip the board over, you can see there's not a lot going on back here. You'll notice that the PCB itself is gray to kind of give it that light color aesthetic, but yeah, typical of what you'd see on the back side of one of these boards. As for RAM, this board will support 256 gigs of DDR5 memory at up to 8,000 megatransfers. This is a specification, not a recommendation for RAM speed. Let's take off the heat sinks for the M.2 slots on this board. It has 4 M.2 slots in total. There's a PCIe Gen 5 M.2 slot at the top of the board, and then there's 3 PCIe Gen 4x4 M.2 slots for storage. For rear I/O, we've got an HDMI port, we've got 2 antenna connectors for the built-in Wi-Fi 7, a BIOS flashback button, as well as a little indicator light for the BIOS flashback. There's 4 USB 2.0 ports. There's USB 3.2 Gen 2, USB 3.2 Gen 1. There's 2 USB Type-C ports, 2.5 gigabit Ethernet, a line out jack, a line in jack, and optical/SPDIF audio output. I hope you guys enjoyed taking a look at the ASRock B850 Steel Legend Wi-Fi. As I said at the start of the video, guys, it has everything you need and nothing you don't, which is why when we have a look at that top PCIe slot release mechanism, I love that that is just so simple and it's spring-loaded, and maybe you don't care about that kind of stuff, but I really care about it because, as you guys may or may not know, like, we have a bit of a YouTube channel here and I do build a couple PCs and I like to be able to pull stuff apart quickly, and that kind of stuff really helps me do that. In terms of the feature set of this board, you know, it does everything you need and nothing you don't. It's a motherboard, guys. You plug your stuff in and it does the thing. What more do you want from a motherboard? Other than that, nice things to have: Wi-Fi 7 and optical audio. That's one thing that has been dropped from a lot of motherboards recently, and ASRock's they're holding on to it. They're like, hey, you know what? We've got everything you need and nothing you don't. Let us know what you think of this board. It's going for around 209 US dollars, or around about 359 Aussie dollar dues at the time of making this video. And like I said, if I was to be building a PC for someone and they came to me and said, hey Nick, what would you recommend? Not spend too much money on a motherboard in the current crisis of the world with everything costing $1 billion, I would say, you know what, take a look at the B850 Steel Legend Wi-Fi, because it does everything you need and nothing you don't. And I gotta say, over the last couple years, personally, I feel that ASRock boards have been getting a little bit better. I see a lot of home labbers out there who swear by ASRock boards for all their servers and stuff too. So if that's something you want to see us do, let us know. I don't know, I'm kind of rambling today. I'll be honest with you guys, I'm filming 5 motherboard videos today because we're going on holiday or vacation, whatever you say, wherever you're from. So I'm trying to just get a bit of a backlog of content done before we go, because I need a break. The GPUs have burnt me out.